Hi and welcome to the OUTDURO channel. My name is Egils, and in this series, Meet the Rider, I'm going to interview riders from around the world. These are motorcyclists that come through Latvia. These are guys and girls that I will meet on my travels. I will share a meal with them, I'll have some beer with them, and I will listen to their stories. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to know for myself, is it something common that we share? Or is it unique? What are these things that keeps us going? What are these things that get us going on the road? Why we ride and how we ride? Is it something universal for all of us? Or is it something unique? If you want to know, join me for the conversation. And the first guest is Around the World Paul. A guy that has been traveling on the road for over 10 years, and almost by accident we discovered that he's coming through Latvia because he seemed to be a little private with his future plans. But he was able to join us for a conversation and share his story with us. Come and listen to it. I'm totally stoked. 2 days ago I got a call from Richard, our OUTDURO guy, and we had this idea of starting an OUTDURO channel and interviewing random interesting people that travel on motorcycles. And he's telling me, you know, this Around the World Paul is coming to Latvia. I said, no shit, no. That Paul? I said, yeah, he's coming, and maybe we can actually talk to him. So when you agreed to talk to us, I was just so excited. I was really excited, and too bad you didn't get to stay at my place. But just to warm up the conversation, where are you from? Where's home?
Two different places.
Yeah?
I'm from England.
Okay.
But I left England in '87. Went back a couple of years later.
Mm-hmm.
I left in '90, and then I've lived longer in America than I have in England.
Okay.
But I've been on the road since '87.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit. Where are you from?
Yeah.
Where have you spent the most time? Well,
Yeah.
where I was born was in England.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'm from.
That's the reason I'm asking.
Yeah,
is there even a place like home for you?
No, I mean, I feel it's funny. If I'm in England, I'm American. If I'm in America, I'm English. If people don't know, then I'm Australian. I asked some guy. Some guy said to me the other day, "So you're from Western Australia, right?"
From the way you speak, right?
No,
accent.
never even been there. Never even been to Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, where are you from? England. Oh shit, I was way off. Yeah. So where'd you live? Phoenix. Oh shit, I really was way off. So there's no logic. There's not.
Yeah, I was wondering. We were riding, and I was looking at your license plate, and there's Arizona on it. It's an Arizona license plate, right?
But I've only been there for flies going in my ears. I was only there, been a couple of years, something like that. But I lived in Las Vegas for. I lived in Las Vegas for about 12 or 13 years. Mm-hmm. So the longest place I've ever lived in my whole life, including living in England, because my parents moved every 2, 3, 4 years, was in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. So if you want to say not where are you from, but where feels home. The most like home, or where are you most comfortable at, it would be Las Vegas. And that's where I had businesses in Las Vegas, I had property in Las Vegas. So but I don't live there anymore. Yeah. So, make what you can of that, and then let me know, because I have no idea.
Yeah, I can relate to your story. I spent quite a lot of time in the States when I was a student and then beyond. And coming back to Europe, I also had this feeling that you are not local anymore, but you're not a foreigner. So it's like you're like in the middle. It's like you're over the culture shock. You can identify with both places.
Right.
It's not like you hate one and love the other. You can kind of relate and find things and you can understand. But I guess the next question I would have for you, do you feel like because of this you have a unique perspective as a traveler, that you can actually see and observe things at a different level, or maybe a little better refined distance?
Yes and no. I mean, a traveler. I mean, are you? You know, there's a huge difference between the tourist and the traveler.
Yes.
So, you know, the tourist knows what what's the saying? The tourist goes to see what they want to see.
Yeah.
The traveler sees what he sees. So you see it along the way. So in that way, yes, I'm a traveler. But I mean, it's, you know, I've never sat still. The longest I sat still was in Vegas for 12 years. But I've always been moving. So it's kind of, it's funny. I was watching a movie the other day. I can't remember what it was, and they said it's almost like it's already written.
Yeah.
So if I sat down and tried to make logical sense of you know what I've done through the years, from being born to different places I've lived and then worked, and then businesses, and then travel, and then motorcycles, and there's no logic. If you write it down and it's, oh, you should write a book. Well, if I do, then there's no logic to the book. There's no set path. It's not like I can say to you, okay, you're 20 years old, then this is what you need to do, and you will do all the things. No, it's all fluke. Yeah. This happened because of this, and then that happened because of that, and I was there, and then somebody said, what about this? You know, it's so everything is random, and if you accept that everything is random, then it just makes life easier. You just go with the flow. You know, it's. Is
that also your philosophy when you're on the move? You just allow the road to take you wherever it takes you, or you actually plan?
It depends. Depends what bike I'm riding. The funny thing is, if you said this bike, you think, oh yeah, you just go anywhere. It's actually, I plan more with this bike than I would on more of a street-oriented bike.
And why is that?
Because you need to, when it comes to dirt tracks, you need to know where you're going. It is because you don't necessarily know they're going to be dirt tracks.
Okay.
So if I'm using tires that are 80-90% off-road biased, I want to make sure that I'm going off-road.
Yeah.
So I need a rough idea. So I have to have that information in front of me. Where if I'm on pavement, I know I can stay on the pavement indefinitely.
Yeah.
You know, anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But with the dirt, even though there's 95% of the roads in the world are dirt.
Unless you go like to Mongolia or.
Well, then there's only 80 miles of paved road total. Exactly. You know, but there might be all this dirt that you can go and ride, but a lot of it goes to somebody's house. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you kind of need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of direction, and a little bit of feel for where you're riding, how you want to ride. So I change the bike depending on how I feel, how I want to ride. So if I want to ride dirt, then because of that, I look at stuff and I do my research and see what's out there, and then see what's going to be interesting. And do I want to go there, and do I want to ride in deep sand? Do I want to ride in mud? Do I want to ride mountain roads? Do I want to ride single track, double track, graded road, you know, whatever? And then, you know, what's the limitations for where I am, whether it's, you know, what state I'm in, what county I'm in, what country I'm in, you know, what continent I'm on. That can make it random, but there's a little bit of organization in with the randomness.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that doesn't answer,
I get
that
it.
doesn't answer
Yeah,
your question
I get
at all, does it?
No, I get it. That's what because this all leads actually to the big question I want to ask you. You know, I think that I'm a traveler myself, and I actually take it as an insult if somebody calls me a tourist.
Yeah.
I had this episode once in Norway. Oh, it's really starting to rain.
Yeah.
I had this instance when I was just doing TET in Norway, Transfer Trail, and I was really off the grid all the time, and the only time I was going down was to the gas station to fill up, and my bike is like dirty, even dirtier than yours now, and you can barely see the license plate, and I'm just filling up, and there's a guy behind me and saying, "Oh, you're a tourist from Latvia." I really felt insulted. You're a tourist. I'm not really a tourist. I'm not doing the touristy things.
Yeah.
But you know, and that kind of led me to ask and to answer the question for myself: what really brings me on the road? Because if I answer that question, then that answers the question why I plan, whether I plan, what kind of a bike I take, and what takes Around the World Paul on the road. Why do you travel?
Being blind.
Elaborate, please, on that.
So in 2008, I had a stroke,
Yeah.
and the result of the stroke, it caused blindness. I was 100% blind. So I was 100% blind for a short time, and I was partially blind for about 2 months. And because of that, that's kind of where it all started. And I was in the middle of a divorce. I was in the middle of losing a business, my father dying, losing property. You know, 2008, the world was crashing. You know, and stress-related stroke. Had that, went blind, ended up moving, and a magazine editor called to see what I was doing, see if they had anything that they could feature in the magazine. And I told them what was happening, and she said to me, "I think what you need to do is just go on a long motorcycle ride." So in her mind, I'm thinking now when I think back on it, she was talking, go for a weekend, go for a week, you know, so maybe 2 weeks, something like that. And I just went, okay. And just a random statement. And March 20th, 2011, I shipped a bike I actually went from the States to England, father's funeral, bought a bike while I was there at my father's funeral, not at the funeral, obviously, but you know, the same time frame. Found a company that was shipping bikes to Argentina, put my bike with them, the bike went down to Argentina, it was going to be a couple of months for it to get there. I flew back to the States, got all my stuff, flew down, met the bike, and then it just started from there. And there was no preconceived idea of riding around the world, absolutely zero. But it just went from there, and that's how it started. And a lot of people have that. Oh, I'm going to go ride around the world. I'm going to go circumnavigate the globe. I'm going to go ride around this continent, that continent. No, not at all. I did it solely to get away from the situation that I was in.
Forgive me if I'm picking on something.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that this actually, it's like a life-changing event. It got you on the road, but it's not really what makes you to stay on the road. It kind of kicked you. Yes, this happened. This is what brought you to motorcycle travel, around the world travel. But there must be something on a daily basis that keeps you. Is it curiosity? Is it, because you want to see things that you haven't seen? Or what is that thing? Is it something that defines you? Are you searching the sights? Are you searching something that is vanishing? Like, for example, when I ride TET sometimes, the Trans-Euro Trail, I feel like I'm seeing the places that are hidden from the main site. It's like almost time travel. I'm almost like nostalgically going back to the times when there was no pavement, no tourism, and you met people and you could talk to them, interact. It's like traveling to the old times, experiencing. How is it for you?
I'm just not actually none of that. I just enjoy riding a motorcycle.
You're just on the bike, just purely.
I just enjoy riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I don't go and pick a certain place, a certain type of surface to ride on.
Yeah.
I just enjoy being on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a photographer, so then the way I describe it, I just get to stand in some really cool places and I take photos of them.
Okay.
So
it's photography that also keeps you moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not. I mean, I've been through whatever it is, 88, 89 countries, something like that. It's not that I'm not saying, okay, there's 196 countries on the planet. I've got to go to all of them. I've got to.
Yeah.
There is people that do that. I honestly could care less.
Mm-hmm.
You get that for a little while when you travel. You get this motivation to go and see, to pick somewhere that's really unique and go and try and ride somewhere that somebody hasn't ridden a motorcycle. People have been everywhere.
Yeah.
People have been absolutely. I mean, I have friends that have been riding around the world for 26 years. They've been around the planet multiple times, and I speak to them, and they're an inspiration, right?
But they're not. It's not like all the time on the road. You make trips, right? You return home,
no,
or you're just like you left, and you're 26 years you've not been home.
Yeah, and I talk to them, and they're an inspiration. They're an older couple. They're both in their late 60s, early 70s now. I talk to them and they're an inspiration. And when you talk to them, they go, "Oh yeah, no, forget about us. You need to meet." And there's somebody that inspires them. There's always somebody else. It's like if I'm riding along and I'm in the middle of nowhere, I haven't seen anybody for 2-3 days, and I see a guy on a bicycle. And he's riding along. And I stop and say hello, and you're inspired by what they're doing, and they go, "Oh, did you see the guy on the skateboard?" And no, you're going to see him. He's further down the road, and you see him, and then he'll go, "Oh, yeah, I'm nothing. Did you see the guy that's hopping on one foot?" So, it's I'm just me. The way when people go, "Oh, you get to do this, this," and they're all like, "Ooh," no, I'm just a guy riding a motorcycle, and I just get to go stand in some cool places.
You've ridden all kinds of different bikes, though.
But I change them because I change them to fit
the mission,
my mood, basically.
Okay.
If I want to ride pavement, do I want to ride, not freeways, but simple pavement, or do I want to ride twisty pavement, or do I want to ride a little mix of stuff, or do I want to ride predominantly off road? So then I change the bike, and then bikes wear out, and I used to build motorcycles, so because of that, it's like it's boring. It's like the bike has got to be one thing that I tell people: the motorcycle. When you walk out of wherever, your tent, your hotel, your hostel, wherever it is, or just you park it and go away and come back, it's got to, in my case, it's got to inspire you to want to get on it to go and ride. Because if it doesn't, then what are you doing it for? If you love motorcycling. Suffering. Otherwise, it's I just met a guy a couple of days ago in Tallinn. So he has the same bike, well, basically the same bike as me, as a 2018. He has a 450 EXC. And he rode from Tallinn to Cape Town, South Africa, 50,000 kilometers. Yeah. And the first thing I noticed about the bike, and most people wouldn't even see that, if they knew about it, they would say, "Oh, you did this incredible journey, but what about this?" First thing I saw, he had a stock seat.
Okay.
Which is
like thin, yeah.
Like that wide. It's like sitting on this. Yeah. For 50,000 kilometers.
No problem, huh?
And he just went, well, whatever. Yeah. So that it's different things impress different people.
Yeah.
So I'm just a guy riding a motorcycle.
The first time I saw you on YouTube was you were featured on this Motor Trek video. I think it was Brett who was talking about. Mostly he's on this big GS and talking about elements of travel, and then he had this feature. But there's a different way to travel. There's this minimalist way of travel, and then you were there and talking about, I think, this bike, right? It was this bike.
It was actually a fluke. So I was in I was in Phoenix, and a friend of mine, Al Jesse, who designs and owned, it doesn't anymore, but at that time owned Jesse Luggage. So hard panniers. And he's very good friends with Ted Simon.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, hey, do you want to come over for dinner? Ted's going to be here, and there's Sam Manicom, another guy that rode around the world for 8 years or so. He's going to be here, and they were doing an interview. They were just having a conversation, and they were doing like this, just doing an interview. And so we sat and they did their interview, and we sat and we talked. And there was 2 or 3 other guys at the table, and one of them was Tim, the motorstruck, and him and his friend and somebody else. So they just sat there, and they hardly said a word. And we're talking. And Ted was riding around the world for 4 years, and Sam was riding around the world for 8 years, and I'm riding around the world for 10 years. And we're just sitting talking, and everybody, and Al, who he rode around the world for 8 years as well. And then my friend Bevan was with me, an Australian guy. He's worked all over the world, and we're all talking about all this stuff. And these 2 or 3 guys are just sitting there not saying a word. We're like, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
Like, we can't. We're not. We're just not at that level of conversation. It's interesting, but we're not. It's better to listen than to make a comment. So, then whatever. We talk about a bunch of stuff, and about a month or 2 later. I was at the International Motorcycle Show. I was there as a journalist for a media outlet, and I saw Tim, and I was like, "Hey!" And he was like, "We know each other, right?" I went, "Yeah, we're Al Jesse's, Ted Simon, Sam Hannigan." "Oh yeah," because he was the guy that was doing the video. And we start talking, and Brett was at that point. He was getting ready to leave their YouTube channel. Yeah. And Tim just said to me, "Do you want to do some videos?" He said, "Because I'm going to be in Arizona again in a few weeks." And I just went, "All right, whatever, okay, yeah." And that's how I ended up doing one about the bike, and then one about packing. And between them, I don't know, they've got some stupid amount of views. So I get people saying, "What about this? What about question?" And I just go watch the video.
Go watch the video.
Go watch the video. And then I do videos of my own, and now I'm like, so the things I didn't cover in those 2 videos, now I'm trying to cover in other videos.
On your website.
And the website with all the information. So that's what the friend here is saying. So why do they want to interview you? I said, because I give back, I pay it forward. I give the information out that a lot of people, they'll go and do something and they don't give back to the community. So I don't want anything for it. I'm just going, oh, here's something really cool I did. You might like it. It might help you out. If it doesn't, then hey, whatever.
But what I really liked about this, because I watch a lot of American motorcycling videos, and a lot of times you see guys with big bikes. Taking a lot of things and showing, oh, this is a nice thing, this is a nice thing, and your appearance there seemed like fresh air to me. It's like, exactly, why do you need all this? You can live without all this. I mean, you're going where people are. If people are there, you will find things that you need. You're not dragging crazy amount of tools with your spare parts. I mean, you broke down in Estonia. Would you carry a fuel pump with you on the road, right?
Yes.
But it took you 4 hours, but you got it resolved, right? Right.
But the funny thing, if you read through the comments, that a few people picked out of the whole video, shops. You don't need to take everything with you. Because there's shops everywhere, so you can go and buy stuff. So if you travel around the world, whichever direction, whatever country you start from, or whatever direction you go, it doesn't matter where you are on the planet. You're never more than 24 hours away from anywhere. So there's stuff everywhere. Within 24 hours, whatever you need, you can go and get. So the people that have an issue, that break down, they go, oh, I got stuck in such and such a place for 6 months because I was waiting for a part. And I was waiting for it to be delivered from A to B to C to get to me. Okay. Why didn't you just get on a plane, go and get it yourself, come back and be back in 2 days, and then put it on the bike and carry on riding? Oh, I never thought of that.
What's the worst that has happened to you to hold you back? Like technically with the bike?
Not on this KTM. On the last KTM, I was riding circumnavigation of the planet. So I left States, went to Canada to South Korea, rode across Russia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, back into Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, got into the Czech Republic.
So this is the second time you're here in the country?
Third time. Third time I'm here. So, and I'm just riding. Everything's great.
Yeah.
But when I was in Russia, just going around the west side of Moscow, I'm on the 400 lane wide freeway, going up a hill, and the bike went boop, boop, and then carried on normal, nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit.
Something, yeah.
But I knew something was up, but I didn't know what it was, and the bike was still fine. So I carry on through the Baltics, and I go down to the Czech Republic, and I'm going to the KTM factory, and literally the day before I was going to the KTM factory, I'm riding along, country road, boop, the bike just dies.
Yeah.
And so I you do your quick obvious checks, but I'm like on the side of the road. I push the bike across the street. There's like a little parking lot for a farm that was selling some stuff, and I went inside and I said, "Is it okay if I'm in your parking lot and I'm just trying to figure out something's wrong with my bike?" And they spoke good English, and they're like, "Yeah, do you need a phone or internet or whatever?" Yeah. And I said, "Well, maybe. Let me go see if I can figure it out." So the woman that's sitting behind the desk, she said to me, "Let me get my in perfect English. Let me get my brother because he speaks better English than me." And I was like, "You speak better English than me?" And she went, "No, he speaks really good English." Yeah. So she goes away and she comes back, and I'm playing with the bike, and he said, "My sister said you might have some questions, but you know what? I have a friend that has a motorcycle shop, and he's not very far away. Do you want me to call him? Maybe he can help you out." Calls him up, and blah, 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 hangs up, and he said, "He'll be here in 2 minutes." And I went, okay. So 2 minutes is normally like an hour. Yeah. He was there in like 90 seconds. Yeah. So a van pulls up, and he doesn't speak a single word of English, the guy that pulls up. So the guy, the farmer said to me, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to repeat exactly. He said, "The bike is a KTM 625 SXC 2003. And I went, "Yeah." So and it didn't look like a 625 SXC at all. It was all modified. Yeah. But he knew exactly what it was. I was like, I'm going with this guy. Yeah, because he knows. So we put the bike in his truck, and we drove maybe 5 minutes. This massive workshop, and he was a race technician for a bunch of different race teams. We had the bike split open in pieces all the way down to the block. Within 45 minutes of me on the side of the road. Not from him getting the bike.
What was wrong with the bike?
The top piston ring had shattered and gone into the combustion chamber and taken out the top end of the motor, and then it has scored the cylinder wall, which is the Nickersill lining. So he just went, and it was him, his wife, his two sons, and his daughter, and they just went, "Oh, no problem, we'll call." Yeah. So the son speaks good English. "We'll call around, we'll get it. It's no problem. We can have this fixed tomorrow." So 5 of them get on the phone, and they called everywhere in the Czech Republic. And nothing. They couldn't get it. Yeah. So then they start calling further and further afield, and they call KTM, the factory. Yeah. They don't have it. They call everywhere in Europe. Not a single shop in Europe has it. So then they go back to calling KTM, and they said, "Hey, we need this. How long will it be?" And they said, "Give us 5 minutes and we'll find out." So they hang up, and we wait for 5 minutes. The phone rings. KTM, hello KTM. Yeah, it's going to be 3 months. They had to make the part. Yeah. And this is where I found out, if you're going to ride around the world, take this into big, huge consideration. A lot of companies, when a model, not the brand, the actual model that you ride, when that model year ends, there's a stipulation that 12 years, and this is what KTM, 12 years from when they made that to when the year that they stopped, they'll go for 12 years and they'll hold parts.
Yeah.
After 12 years,
Gone.
no more parts.
Yeah.
So what is on the shelf is on the shelf.
Yeah.
So once if they have one part left and it's gone, it's gone. So then they'll make parts for you, but you're not a priority.
Yeah.
So
you waited for 3 months?
No, I just kind of looked at him and I went, he said, "Are you going to wait?" And I went, "No." So I flew back to the States and bought another bike and went riding and waited. And I got the bike back. It was actually about 5 months in the end. But I went and bought another bike and just carried on riding. So that was the easily the longest, but it only stopped me riding for maybe 6 days.
Yeah.
Because I knew I still had the bike. I knew it was with a really good mechanic. I knew it was going to get fixed.
Yeah.
So
just got another one.
So why wait?
Yeah.
Why go do something else?
Yeah.
Rather than sitting in a hotel room and just, hey, is my bike ready today? Is my bike ready today? No, I just you know what, screw it.
So you basically take responsibility of your trip in your own hands. Okay, there's a problem, and I'm going to do something about it instead of waiting for other people to do something about it and just being a victim of a situation. You just take over the control and just a different trip. Yeah. It's a different trip than you planned along the lines that you said in the beginning. The things happen randomly.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple that I met in Russia in 2014 that their bike was just, they were on a big BMW, and it completely failed in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Siberia. They were in this little hotel, and I pull in, and the husband has got the bike in pieces, and I went over to chat with him, see what the issue is, and we're talking, and I looked at it, and he said, "I think I can fix this." And I said, "Can I have a look?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." And I looked, because I own motorcycle shops, so I look at a few things, and I went, "Yeah, you're screwed. This is what's technically known as a catastrophic failure, and you're not going to fix it. It's not. You're in the middle of Siberia. You're not going to fix this." And his wife was standing there, and she's nodding, and he's going, "No." She's going like that. And I said. And he said, "Well, what would you do?" He said, "Maybe I can call Moscow and they'll have the parts." I went, "They won't. This bike is 15 or 20 years old. They will not have the parts. You have to order them. You have to wait. Do you know how to put it?" If I even went, "Here's the parts today, fix it. Can you fix it?" And he went, "Well, no, I need to find a BMW mechanic." Okay, you're in the middle of Siberia. So get the parts. For however long, wait. So pay money to wait, pay money for the parts, pay money for the shipping, then get the bike to somewhere for somebody to fix, then pay them to fix it. Is it worth it? And he was like, and she's in the background going, and I said, "It's not cost effective to wait for this. Pick up and go, and maybe come back, maybe don't come back." So in my case, I was lucky. In their case, they weren't. And I'd met a guy a few days before that liked older BMWs, and I called him up and, "Hey, there's a bike here that's basically a pile of junk, but you might be able to do something with it and sell parts off it." And within an hour, he was there with cash, and he was like, "I'll just buy it from you as it is." So are you, it depends how you're proactive on the situation. And in my case, I just don't let the vehicle, not so much this bike, but anything, so if you're traveling on a bicycle, on a motorcycle, on a 4x4, don't let the vehicle control you and what happens. What happens if there's a war, or there's a volcano goes up and you can't get out? You can get out, but
you might have to leave it behind.
You leave it behind. But the guys that have the big, Unimog 4x4s that are $500,000 euros,
it's just a tool.
That's going to determine their mindset. So you kind of got to think about your bike, what it means to you, how old it is, can you get it fixed? Can you fix it? And do you want to have everything that's involved with that? And some people will say, oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. But they'll break down, but then they'll go look for a mechanic. And other people will be the other way around. Well, I can fix it myself. So I'm that way. I just go, oh, I can fix it myself.
Yeah. Is that the reason why you chose this one? Because you feel like very comfortable fixing all the issues on it?
No, this is just a fun bike to ride.
Yeah. Just because you like it, that's it.
I wanted one of these for... I was in South America and I met, there was another couple, Simon and Lisa Thomas, good friends of mine. They ride around the world, I think, for 16 years on a couple of BMWs. And I said, are you happy with the... I asked them, are you happy with your bikes? And they were like, yeah, they're great. Oh, no, I didn't actually. Are you happy with them? And they were like, they're a little bit big, a little bit heavy, you know. I said, if you could pick another bike, and he's sitting there, and he went, I don't know, what would you pick? And I went, KTM 500 EXC, and he went, did you want to think about that for a second? I went, no, because...
But that's not the first choice for the round the world travel, is it? No. I mean, how often do you change the oil on this thing? It's like every week or almost?
No, it's not. It's a race bike, but I'm not racing it. So... in their case, they change their oil every, 5,000, 6,000 kilometers. I change this every 3,000 kilometers. And it takes 10 minutes. So does changing the oil determine the bike that you want to ride?
Yeah.
So it's a race bike. Yes, it's a race bike. But because it's a race bike, it's very easy to work on. So, and it's light. So this weighs not in this form, in its stock form, it weighs 104 kilos. There's 3 bikes over there. We can't see, but there's 3 bikes over there. There's and they all weigh a lot more.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of them. If they were loaded with luggage, you're not going to be able to pick them up by yourself.
Yeah.
So now, what do you do now? So, kind of turning your question around, why'd you pick this bike over something else? Don't let the bike determine your route, because if your bike is big and heavy, you're going to look at the road or track or dirt or
you're
whatever,
not going to go places,
and you're going to go, I need to stop here and turn around.
Yes, true.
So and of course you're always going to get the rebuttal argument, oh well, I can pick my bike up. Okay.
Yeah, well, are you going to be able to drag it out of the mud in the bog sometimes? Or what if it falls down, with the wheels up on the hill and heavy luggage? And how many times a day?
Yeah, if that happens 10, 15, 20 times a day, are you going to be able to do that? Yeah. The answer usually is, yeah. Okay, can you do it the next day? And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day? Can you do that 30, 40 days in a row? And they look at you and they go, okay, well then, so now you're eliminating a lot of riding in places like Siberia, Mongolia, Tajikistan, high up in the Andes, things like that, because you're restricting your ability of where you want to go because of your bike. So the only determinative factor of where you go and how you ride should be you. You, the individual. It shouldn't be the bike.
And this one, it doesn't have a limitation because, it's a dirt bike, but you're going on the road on it as well, right? You're not a religious dirt. It has to be. Pavement is also fine for you.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It's not the greatest bike on pavement. It's about riding about 100 kilometers per hour. Is about it. It's I don't want to go on a freeway, on a highway, on a toll road, anything like that. But I'll just jump on the pavement and go. It's obviously a lot better on the dirt. But it's what's the difference between somebody that rides me, for example? Okay, so I'm riding around the world. What's the difference between me riding this bike around the world and somebody riding this bike on a daily basis within 5 miles of their home? Zero. We both do. We're both riding the bike. We're both putting through the bike through its same paces. So riding a bike around the world isn't anything special. at all. It's all it is you're riding a bike on a daily basis. So if you don't own a car and you ride a bike, your motorcycle on a daily basis, you're doing the exact same thing.
There's one thing though, and maybe we can touch on that, and if you're at liberty to talk about this, you feel comfortable talking about this. The difference is that it costs to travel around the world. I mean, you have to work, or you have to
less.
Then actually,
it costs me less to travel.
But how do you fund your
world.
travel? Do you work on the road?
Okay, let's go back a little bit. It costs me less to travel around the world than it does to not travel around the world.
Why?
Because travel is a lot cheaper than people think it is. Because you live within a budget, and I don't have a mortgage. I don't have payments for electricity, gas, water, cell phone.
So you don't have a home that's waiting for you at home. That's actually.
So I'm not paying. I mean, a lot of people do, and they have. That's a separate thing. But when you're on the road, I have. I'm trying to think. My only true expense at the moment is. What is my only true expense at the moment? I mean, besides the travel expenses, I'm thinking about things that I have is medical insurance, and that costs me about €400 every 6 months. So what's that, like 80 bucks a month, something like that.
Yeah.
That is my only true expense, where if I was living in one place, I would have rent or a mortgage or a car payment or a motorcycle payment, electric, gas, phone, blah, 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 all that.
Yeah.
So eliminate all of that. If you can eliminate all of that.
Well, you still have to have an income somehow to fund the travel.
You either have to have an income, a lump sum of money.
Yeah, either, inherited or sold your property or whatever.
Or you, so you have an indefinite amount of money, or you have a lump sum that you can travel as long as that money lasts. So in my case, watch the video. You can link I did a finances video. In 2000, when I went blind, around 2008, I was watching something or reading something, and it said the most important thing to know about yourself as an individual is, if you're talking about finance, is your net worth. So every single thing of value that you own. So if it's whatever money you have in the bank plus whatever realistically that you could sell something for. Okay, so I have a $2 bottle of beer, but it's not worth $2 because if I want to sell it, it might be worth about 80 cents. So be realistic. If it's I have a couch that's worth €1,000 that I paid $1,000 for, it's worth 200. So a realistic net worth, and know what that is, and then at that point, I want to go and travel. Okay, so how much does it cost to travel? For me, when I'm traveling solo, I average about $14,000 or $15,000 US dollars a year.
Yeah.
Okay, so take that figure. How long do I want to go for? Well, let's say I want to go for 3 years. Okay, so I need 45, 50,000, something like that. Do I have 45, 50,000? If I do, good, I go. Yeah. If I have, say, 25,000, then I'm good for half the time. Yeah. Now I need to make up the difference. Can I make up the difference with work as I go on the road, or can I generate some income some other way, maybe from a rental property, or can I make some money from some kind of investments, or can I make things as I go along? So
I know,
everybody's
and
different.
It's
different.
on your website. There's all different models also that you can see that depending on how much, and you've actually been very meticulous in keeping all those expenses. You can actually see how much you spend on ferries and gasoline and repairing the parts and everything. Yeah. But I guess really that question for Around the World Paul. Do you work on? Do you sell your photography? Do you work on the bike, or you travel now for a little bit and then you work? How do you do it? What's your secret?
I started when I originally left. I've done a variation of all of them. Uh-huh. So when I originally left, I had a small lump sum of money. Okay. So I had this amount of money that it's good for me to last for about a year.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. At the end of around the end of the first year, I had money left, and while I was away and traveling, I'd put money into investments.
Okay.
So I'd had investments. They're not funding my travel, but they were doing their own thing and they were growing.
Mm-hmm.
So then I took those investments and moved them around, and then I ended up buying. I bought a cheap property and rented it out, and it paid for itself, and then with that generated another property. And then I also, when I'm traveling, once you're on the road and you can ask this question to pretty much anybody that travels, how far or how long are you on the road when you realize you don't need any of the stuff that you left at home?
Okay.
Right? So whatever it may be that you know, your own personal possessions, you realize that all you need is that and everything that's there. So anything that you left at home, you know, in your parents' basement or whatever it may be, it has no value, but it has value to somebody else. So you go, okay, so that's what I do. And okay, well, I have all this crap. Let me go and sell my crap to somebody else so it can be their crap. And then that generated money. I had a lot of crap, so that generated money, and then I used that money and I invested that in lots of different ways, and so that was good. And then because I traveled, then you get magazines and websites saying, hey, can we interview you? Can you write an article about this?
Yeah.
So then you start doing that, and then you're taking photographs. Hey, can I buy this photograph of you? Or can I use that? Can I pay you royalties for that? Okay, yeah, you can do that. So I, at any given time, have anything from 0 sources of income up to about 15 sources of income. They rarely all come in at once. Yeah. If they do, it's great, but they rarely do. And then you live frugally. Yeah. And then the other thing is when you leave, unless you come from Switzerland or Denmark or Norway, and you speak to people from there, everywhere they go is cheap. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because they have
it's very expensive to
live there. Their cost of living is high. But if you make a point of when you leave and you have a lump sum of money and make the first places you go cheaper than the cost of living of what you're used to, then your money will last a lot longer. And then the places you go to, if you end up in places that have a high cost of living, you spend more time in the cheaper countries and less time in the more expensive countries. You pick and choose the things that you want to do. You can't see everything, you can't do everything. Pick and choose good things, and your money now is you're stretching your money. Then the next thing is not moving. So if you can generate a little bit of income and you don't move, your biggest expense generally riding a motorcycle is filling the tank. So if you're not filling the tank on a daily basis, you're actually making money. Yeah. So while you're sitting there not spending money, if there's a way that you can sell an article to a magazine for, $50, $100, $500, whatever it is, then you can justify sitting still. Yeah. So when you speak to people that travel for a long time, almost all of them will tell you the slower you travel, the cheaper it is. So the people that are on the road the longest, strangely enough, have the least amount of money. The people that have a lot of money are the ones that they go and see everything, they go and do everything, they buy the best bike with the best gear, the best everything, and they're done within a year or two. Yeah. So it's a bit strange. Yeah. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Yeah. So. Yeah.
This is very, very inspiring to hear all this. I think we're almost out of beer, so we should wrap up very soon. But maybe just as a last question, you could share with us a little bit about this segment of your trip. Where have you been this summer, and where are you headed? And what you like the most about this part of the world? What brings you back here?
I was sitting in Phoenix. Couldn't go anywhere because of the pandemic. Yeah, I could right to the end of the street and back. That was about it. And I got a message from a friend of mine who I built a motorcycle for back in 2007, something like that. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting still. I'm not going anywhere." "Why don't you come to Iceland?" I was like, "Well, because of the pandemic." And he was like, "They just announced on Icelandic TV, it wasn't official yet, that they're going to open the country up to people that are fully vaccinated."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Oh, okay. You've always wanted to go to Iceland. How do I get there? I know I can go from Denmark on a ferry, but..." And he said, "Oh, there's this shipping company that called I'm Skip." And he said, "You can use them. The bike that I built for him, he shipped back to Iceland. So you can use them. They're good. So come to Iceland. You have somewhere to stay, and then you can go ride Iceland." Yeah. So I kind of went, "All right, let me do a little bit of research." So I did a bit of research, found the company, spoke to them. At the same time, got 2 vaccinations, got my Pfizer vaccinations, and that's what they wanted. They just wanted proof of you had vaccinations and you could go to Iceland. So I was like, okay, that's cool. So then figured out where can I ship from. So I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and the bike is going into a container on a container ship going from somewhere on the east coast of America, and it's going to Iceland, and it might go via Greenland or Newfoundland, and then it'll end up in Iceland. So I called the company and said, "Yeah, okay, it's all good." The price was good. Problem is, I'm about 5,000 K away. Yeah. So what is the best? Do I put my bike in a truck and send it? Do I ship it with another shipping company? Do I ride it? Do I... I was actually going to take 2 bikes. At this point, they told me I have to go from Portland, Maine. So that was about as far as I could possibly go across the country. I was thinking about taking a rental truck, taking 2 bikes, dropping one off, and then riding the second one back and wait for the bike to ship. Okay. And then I looked at all the different things, and the cheapest way for me to get to Portland, Maine from where I was to ride the bike.
Okay. So you rode this one?
So I rode this
5,000 kilometers.
It was 8,000 kilometers. So I rode 8,000 kilometers of dirt to get it to a shipping company to ship it to Iceland. And dropped it off, and they told me on the phone, they said it's going to be about 11 days, something like that, to ship it. I was like, "Oh." So I had a friend that lived close by to where the shipping place was. Good, okay. So drop the bike off, I'll stay with him, and I said, "So in 11 days, then I'll get on the plane and go to Iceland." And they went, "Oh, the bike won't be there in 11 days. Oh. And they said, "You just said it will be there in 11 days. And I went, "Yeah, it'll be there in 11 days, but it won't be there in 11 days. It takes 11 days from here to there, from Portland, Maine to Iceland." Okay, what am I missing? And they said, "What you're missing is customs holds the bike to make sure that it's not stolen for a week or 2 weeks. So all of a sudden, the 11 days now is almost a month." So okay, so they do that. So I just flew back to Phoenix, and it was easier just to wait there. And the question that I get that people say, "Okay, so you went to Iceland, but COVID's happening, and Iceland let you in. Yeah. What are you going to do next?" Because this is I'm making your question better. So the thing is, what are you going to do next? Because you're kind of screwed. You get to Iceland and you can't go anywhere else because the whole of Europe is closed down. So I have multiple friends in Iceland. So if the worst comes to worst, I can leave my bike in Iceland, or I can ship it back to the States. So I have two good options. I have a friend that works for the government in Denmark, and I said to him, "So there's a ferry from Iceland to Denmark. How do I stand getting into Denmark?" "You can't. It's closed."
Okay.
But...
And when was that? That was in spring this year?
This was around March or April, something like that. Yeah. And he said, "But we were just told unofficially that Denmark will probably be open
up soon,
about June 20th.
Okay. So you rode around Iceland all these months?
And I was in Iceland for about a month or so, something like that. So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm in Iceland. This is in June, and I'm riding, and he sends me a message. He went, "Yeah, they just told us officially that Denmark is going to open." So I was like, "Okay." So now I know I can get from Iceland to Denmark. I can go in because I can show my COVID certificate. So then people say, okay, so you get to Denmark, then what are you going to do? Because you can't go anywhere from Denmark. So my brother-in-law is Norwegian, and he says, you can't go to Norway because they want an electronic passport. They want the QR code passport. America isn't issuing
digital certificate.
America's not issuing those. So I know if I look at Denmark, I can't go north. I can't go to Norway. Germany's just got flooded, so they're restricting entry. How about Sweden? So I contacted some people that I know in Sweden. There's one sitting over there. Can I get in? Yeah, you can come. So then I went, okay, I'll go to Sweden. So then I contacted a friend in Finland. Can I come to Finland? He called a friend of his that was in Border Patrol. Yes, if you come from Sweden, you can come in. So I could go from Denmark to Sweden, no problem. Denmark to Norway, I couldn't. But if I was in Norway, I could go to Sweden. But if I was in Sweden, I couldn't go to Norway. If I was going to Finland from Sweden, it was okay. If I was going to Finland from Norway, it was... So I have all these people, right, that I can, if shit hits the fan, I can't do anything, I can just leave the bike with somebody. So I know people in Estonia, I know people in Latvia, I know people in Lithuania, I know people in Poland. So the funny thing is now, okay, so actual real time right now, it's traveling now is actually more like it was traveling back in the 80s and the 90s.
When you needed visas, right?
Yeah, and you didn't know anything. The only way that you could find out if you could get into a country was to go to the border.
The next,
And they would say, yes, you can come in, no, you can't come in. So even though we're all developed and everything, we've actually gone back about 20, 30 years in travel, motorcycle travel. So it's a challenge. So today in Latvia, probably in Lithuania tomorrow. Do I get in? I don't know.
You do. Easy. It's going to be relatively easy at the moment now through Europe traveling around. You're not going to get much trouble.
You're pretty much the first person that said that. Most people don't agree with that. Most people don't agree with that. So at the moment, travel is it's per country. If something happens, then I'm stuck in that country. So then I'll deal with it at that point. So there's no need to plan so far ahead because you can't, because things could change on a daily basis. And the thing about going into a country now, it's not the country's opinion. It is, they have a rule, but it's the person that you meet, whoever that's working customs, passport control, they have the final say-so. So if he or she had an argument with their spouse that morning, they might, no, you can't come in. There's nothing you can do about it. You just go, okay, then I guess I'm going to stay in Latvia. Sorry.
So you're basically... You don't know, but you have some aspirations what you want to do on this trip. Are you riding TET? Is that one of the things you want to do?
I'm riding a lot of the TET, but the problem is I have two passports. I have a British passport and a US passport. Neither of those
are European passports anymore.
I don't have European. I used to have a European passport, so they're not great. So the problem with that is I'm under the Schengen regulation, so I have 90 days in, 90 days out. So in theory, I could go into Romania, Bulgaria, Ukraine, and go in on one passport, come out on the other. But then you have the seasons you've got to deal with as well. So, I have a mother in England that I promised that I would go and see 5 years ago, and I'm a little bit late. So I have to go see her. And you're playing. The weather is a big part. The borders are another issue. There's lots of things. So my plan is to ride probably about a third of Europe, wherever I can get in. Go to England. Switch passports from the American passport to the English passport, and then come back out of England and then do the parts that I missed until the weather turns bad, and then I drop my bike off at a friend's in Warsaw in Poland, and he's going to ship it to Africa, and then that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah. It's just, but I'm just a guy riding a motorcycle. It's not nothing more than that. Don't blow it out of proportion.
It's still an inspiration for a lot of people, including me. And I appreciate your time. Appreciate you spilling the beans and talking about all this. And,
but it's, I mean,
and for the viewers, actually, also I definitely should mention, go and visit Paul's website, Around the World Paul. It's rtwPaul.com. Also on Instagram.
It's
fantastic. Yeah.
Same on everything.
Yeah, and YouTube channel as well. It has very detailed instructions on finances, how to plan the trip and how to pack for the trip and what to do and what not to do, and the bike maintenance, all the things. That's why I didn't want to cover all those. You can find all that information. It's very detailed.
But I still get the same questions every day. What about this?
Does anybody ask you about the dogs? Because you have a particular, it seems to me that you have a particular thing for the dogs. On your website you have lots of pictures of dogs and
must love dogs.
Yeah.
Must love dogs.
I have a dog too. I have a saved dog from a shelter.
Yeah, I have 7.
Yeah. Oh, you have 7 dogs? Okay. So
7 dogs.
So we have something in common besides motorcycles.
Yeah, so all the people that say, oh, the Patreon or the crowd funding and whatever, all that they just, help me go around. No. If I can't ride around the world on my own money, I don't want money from anybody else. But I have people, I want to give you money, and I just tell them, plain and simple. It's, if you give me money, generally what I do with it, I buy dog food, and I give it to stray dogs, street dogs, or if I stay with people and they have dogs, I buy them toys or whatever. I like dogs. I mean, they just, there's just something. So it's nothing to do with motorcycles. I'm not asking for money, but if you have a thing for, I have, like I say, in Phoenix, me and my girlfriend, we have 7. We used to have 8. One just died. We had that are rescue dogs. It's something that's common in every country you go to. That you're going to see street dogs, and they're starving for food. So if you give me $1, $20, $50, whatever, it's not filling my belly. It's, I'm going to use it to fill their belly. And some people go, oh yeah, well, I don't want to give you anything. Where other people will say, okay, where do I give that money? And it's not the easiest thing to find on my website. You've got to click in lots of click, and then find this, and then click something else. So it's not, here, donate.
For Paul.
No.
Yeah, great. Well, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
You too.
And you guys, you're watching OUTDURO channel. My name is Egils, and see you in the trails. Bye.